Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January 2022 edition of the Cloud Foundry Community Advisory Board call. So, Happy New Year to everybody present. It definitely, feels like there's going to be a lot um, from the Cloud Foundry community in terms of contributions. Very exciting things happening. But I think this is definitely a very critical year in terms of where we're going to see the CF and the Kubernetes efforts take off and where that lands us and how that whole landscape is going to shape up. And I guess, much like a lot of the folks here, I am also waiting with bated breath to see where the community, really takes us and how we're going to navigate these choppy waters. Um, First, a few quick community updates. So, for those who've been following along, one of the working groups that we've had some sort of backlog with is in terms of the community experience working group. But we're very happy to report that as of last week, there's been some commendable progress on it. So, if you head to our GitHub where a repo where we maintain some of that information, like a whole lot of conversation has happened, and especially in the past week, and things are sort of taking shape in terms of ownership of documents and community facing assets and things like that. So it's very interesting to note how things are progressing, and we're really looking forward to getting that working group fully formed, fully functional, and up and running like the others as well. And then there's interesting updates from the different individual working groups as well. So one of the things that we've sort of been changing with adopting this new technical oversight committee and these new working groups is publicly facing roadmaps. So I'm just posting a link to one of the publicly available roadmaps. So this is the application runtime platform working group. So folks can see, what folks, different people are working on. You can get an idea of where the contributors' heads are at, and obviously also understand where any of the new issues and pull requests that you might have raised, actually land up. So um, we've had like a bunch of different submissions in terms of general enhancements, some Hacktoberfest submissions, what have you. But again, this is sort of the model that we anticipate all of the different working groups to take. And obviously, mileage may vary between different working groups, but everybody is slowly getting on board and making things available. So I'm also going to post the link corresponding to the foundational infrastructure working group. So that particular working group, I think, sprawls like a lot of different areas, and so the overall sort of spread makes it a little more complex in terms of navigation. But again, I think they meet once every week, so always very interesting in terms of technical depth and the general breadth of problems which they seem to solve. uh, but yeah, it's very functional. Folks are welcome to join if they're interested, and uh, again, we're chugging along at a good pace, and closing out issues and reviewing existing ones pertaining to foundational infrastructure and things like that. So yeah, all in all, a very interesting year to look forward to, I guess, in like the macro sense, and also all of these interesting updates from the different working groups. different working groups. If folks have questions, obviously please reach out on Slack. You can air any of your issues during the call. But I guess we can move on to like the next segment here. So joining us is Lakshmi. Hi, Lakshmi.
Hi, folks.
So Lakshmi is a uh, reasonably close neighbor, but also a very close friend, I guess. And he was introduced to Buildpacks and all of these things a while back, and he's been toying around uh, with using Buildpacks for some of his projects. And so I thought the cap call might be a great opportunity to sort of see a few things about what he's done, and also find some time to really chat about what's good, what's good to improve, and just find out something about his general experience. So I see a bunch of different people from like the Buildpacks and the Paketo community. So thank you folks very much for joining us today. And I guess the floor's all yours, Lakshmi.
Hey, thanks, Ram. So, Paketo build packs are the best things since sliced bread. You folks already know that. So, I'm here to talk about more of my developer experience when using build packs. I've been an out-and-out PHP developer. So I started with the Paketo PHP build packs. Uh, it's all cool. And then I hit some issues. I want to highlight a couple of them with two different stacks here. Please shoot any questions you might be having. So one is I've been a Drupal developer, so I started using this for a Drupal project, which is Composer based. In case you don't know, Composer is the package manager for PHP. So Buildpacks aggressively cache your image layers, and so the way Drupal project is structured is you have all these Composer packages installed alongside the source code in the same directory scaffold. So what happens is whenever you are building a new image from a cached layer, all your Composer packages go away. I think there was an issue raised for this also, but it's sort of unattended. So if that could be moved, then I could end up using it in at least like 50 projects down the pipeline instead of grinding out and building Docker files manually by hand and all that. So that's one thing which I wanted to mention here. And a huge shout out to the Slack community in Buildpacks, Paketo, especially, where I just run there with any issue I have, and they instantly seem to be having a solution or a quick fix for that. The community is very responsive in general. So, any comments on that?
Hi. Just wanted to clarify. You said the problem there was that the Composer packages were installed alongside what again? Sorry.
The same source code files. So your
Got you.
yeah.
Okay.
So that thing goes away when you run the build next time, because Composer doesn't run because it has not detected any change. But when you start running the application, it complains that the PHP files are not there in the place where they are supposed to be, and hence we run into this issue. This is very endemic to Drupal, and it's a very strange thing. I'm sure people won't get it at first shot. I did a quick run through the source code. By the way, I'm just very I just have very not so noteworthy experience in Golang. So I saw that the composer install step doesn't run if there is no change in the composer packages or anything like that. So what ends up happening is we don't get the source code files at all. So I'm sure there must be a way to tweak this so that projects like Drupal make effective use of Buildpacks. I ended up writing my own custom build pack, which is a fork version of this, where it runs Composer nevertheless. So that's how I'm currently spinning the plates here. Also, one more quick thing on a related note when installing dependencies. This is in Python. So Python expects, the build pack expects the requirements .txt, which is a catalog of all the library dependencies for a Python application, to be present at the top level directory. So there is no way to configure that to be anywhere else. Like for example, in a typical project, if you take the scaffold or the structure of a typical, say, Django project, it's there in different folders. For example, you might have the dev version of the requirements in dev.txt, and then the production version in production.txt or something like that. So there is no way to specify an alternative name or a path or a folder structure for the requirements. This is one more gripe I had with Python buildpacks. Otherwise, everything works fine and cool. In fact, I even wrote a shell script based build packs for an obscure stack like Elixir and Erlang once for a project. So I'm really addicted to build packs. Just hope that it works for all these edge cases.
When you identify these edge cases, are you filing issues with feature suggestions and things like that?
For the Drupal thing I did, for the Python thing I didn't do because I thought it was very basic. I thought maybe I didn't read the docs. It's a case of TLDR, so I didn't want to embarrass myself. So I thought I'll just do a quick fix in the project. I'm still not sure if that's the issue. I'm not checked the docs really the last few months.
Hi, I'm one of the core engineers on the Paketo team.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to say, like, if you run into anything and you're not sure about it, like, definitely reach out to us. Because there's a very high chance we just have so much breadth in what we support that there's a high chance, like, even if you're not sure if like you're doing something right, that we've never thought about it because there's just so much ground to cover. So definitely reach out to us or file an issue. There's no reason to feel silly or anything. We definitely want to hear about it.
The only silly questions are the ones not asked.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, do you guys hang out in the Buildpacks channel on CF Slack, or do you have a separate Slack for Paketo, or how's that work?
There's a separate Paketo Slack, I believe. That's where I hang out usually.
But a lot of the team members, I'm also one of the core engineers on the team. We tend to check both fairly regularly, but Paketo is probably the best way to reach us.
Sure thing. Yeah, I already know that. So it's just that me not being very proactive in raising this issue probably. I'm sure, I mean, like Sophie said, there is a lot of breadth. So even if you take just one build pack like PHP, there are so many permutations and combinations of applications which use it in a lot of myriad ways. So it's easy to miss a couple of stacks here and there. But yeah, I'll make sure I raise these as issues and then tag you guys.
Yeah, my main observation is that if it's in an issue or somewhere where people can read, then awareness usually leads to solutions. Yeah, but if people aren't aware, then that's not ideal. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Thanks.
Thank you. Also, one more related note I had in general is how can I use Buildpacks for my local development? I don't know. I thought I read somewhere that this is on the radar for you guys, but I really don't know what is the status quo for that one.
So when you say for local development, what?
Like for example, I want my local setup to be almost in parity with whatever I deploy using a build pack. So in that sense, I should be able to spin up the same, almost same container image on my say Docker Compose build, and so that when I change the source code and then it does a hot reload. So I just mount the source code volume in the workspace directory. So I don't know whether I can do that, whether that's a valid approach. I've not tried that before. So for my local development, I use a Docker file, and then when I deploy, I use Buildpacks. It's a sort of hacky way.
So there's some support for this now in some of our build packs. If I'm understanding you correctly, we have supported watch exec integrations with Python, for example, and .NET, where you could volume mount, as you said, or do I guess like a Docker CP, for example, and watch the workspace directory, which would then relaunch your app in the container, or relaunch the running process in the container, I should say. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, then would it be in PHP that you'd want that support?
Any language would do, because we can just copy that approach in other stacks. If it works for say Python, I can make it work for PHP.
Got you.
But
Okay,
it's really Docker internals, right? So
got you. Well, there's, as I said, there's some support for that in some of our build packs, but if that's something you want for some specific tool chain, also you can request that anytime.
sure thing.
And
Sure.
wouldn't it be another option also to run a local Kubernetes cluster on your laptop via either Docker or, MicroK8s or whatever it happens to be, and interact that way locally?
The problem with that approach is the feedback loop is too big. I have to build the image, bake it in, and then put it in my cluster. And then if I want to change something, I have to again rebuild the image. I know that Buildpacks are super fast, but still that's a lot of friction you can avoid otherwise. By the way, I also use Kpack, which is the Kubernetes build version of the command line pack utility, because in many of our projects, we build the images in the cluster. So we go with Kpack, and sometimes we also use Tecton task to do the same thing. But yeah, it's really Buildpacks running the show for all the applications I build.
I think Peter posted a question. Peter, do you want to take that? But Peter's question, I'll just dub for him today. Is there a Cloud Foundry shim coming that uses Paketo build packs in the staging process? Anybody want to take that? I guess
I think we're still making decisions about the shim. I can say I don't think it's at the top of our list at the moment, but it is something we know a lot of folks want. So I think those deliberations are still ongoing. Sophie, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's as far as I know.
Exactly what you said. Like, it's definitely something we know that there are users that want it. It's just kind of like a question of like balancing its priority against like doing more development on the Paketo build packs and trying to persuade people to move that direction. But it's definitely still on our like to-do list and something that we haven't stopped thinking about. We just haven't prioritized it at this point.
Cool. Jerico Pena, I think this is the forum to ask sort of any questions, but we just generally try to direct it towards a particular topic. But obviously, the floor is open for anything that you might want to know. So, go right ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thanks for sending the invite for this. So yeah, we've been doing a proof of concept with Paketo Buildpacks, and we really like them. Part of the reason we're doing this is to find a way to kind of have a standardized approach to building containers so that we could then use that approach in like FedRAMP deployments. But the more we look into FedRAMP requirements, we're finding that we're going to have to install specific packages and potentially use different operating systems. So my question is, I think, primarily geared towards the Paketo user base here or people. So, I know the Paketo is built on Ubuntu, but we're using AWS EKS, and that's built on Amazon Linux, which is Red Hat based. So is there any plan to have a Red Hat based like version of Paketo or some kind of way for people to take advantage of the awesome work that you've done on the Paketo build packs with minimal friction?
Hi. So are you referring to like the Red Hat UBI stack?
So I guess I'm not informed if there is a Red Hat stack. So is there a Red Hat stack already for Paketo?
So right now there is not. There is right now, yeah. So you're right. We only support like the Ubuntu stack image, but supporting UBI is something that we have thought about, but like right now we're not going down that avenue. But I think that that might be something that's available down the road, and it may be available in like the Tanzu like paid commercial version of Buildpacks. But for the actual open source Paketo Buildpacks, I'm not sure if that's something that we'll be supporting.
Okay, great. Well, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine that given more demand, that like if that's something that like is more important to open source users than we had anticipated, then I think we'd certainly be able to reevaluate. But as Sophie said, right now it hasn't sounded like there's much demand on that side.
Cool. Thank you.
But if there is demand on the open source side, I'd love to hear about it, and maybe like drop by one of our working group meetings or pop into Slack so we can like have a record of that interest and like use that to inform our roadmap.
Yeah, sounds good. So it sounds like there's a separate Slack for Paketo. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll jump on that one. Cool. Thank you.
I'll quickly post a link to that Slack here on chat. Yep, Sophie just did. Yeah, again, Paketo.io, I think, is a good starting point. So if you just hop on there, that will lead you to the Slack. But yeah, generally speaking, is there a DIY path for doing what Jerico is asking, which is to switch out OSs or provide like a base OS image layer and then use Buildpacks on top of it?
Yeah. So the main issue is that we compile all of our dependencies from source against Ubuntu. So, but there's a pretty high chance, we haven't fully investigated it, that some of those dependencies will just work depending on what the stack is, and you may not actually need to recompile them. And then, yeah, you could support your own custom stack. I think that there's documentation somewhere on the Cloud Native Buildpacks site for creating your own stack, but essentially you could use like all of the different boilerplate that we have and just sub in whatever base image you want, and then use our tooling that exists within Paketo to like bundle up that stack and use it inside of a builder. And that should take you pretty far depending on which operating system that you're trying it for.
Yeah, I think there is a path to creating a custom stack on the buildpacks.io website. So I just pasted that into chat. So Sophie, if you could, verify that. And Jerico, maybe there's like a good starting point for you there in terms of, starting to use different OSs instead of like the Ubuntu default that it comes with. And, maybe it comes back as a contribution to open source Paketo. Hopefully, fingers crossed, but
Nice. Yeah, that's great. I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's also helpful to hear that the dependencies are compiled and not just installed like deb, through a package manager or whatever. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely very informative. I appreciate it.
cool.
Yeah, we could probably do a better job of documenting the process for creating a custom stack, like specific to Paketo. So that's something as a stacks maintainer I can definitely take on and make sure that's documented somewhere.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll definitely go on the Slack channel and like you said, post so you guys have like a paper trail or, file an issue or something like that so that you can know the interests of the user base. So thank you.
Very cool. Anyone who have any other questions or interesting Paketo experiences to report?
Since Paketo is usually focused on building applications, has there been any ideas or thoughts put into, these questions for the Paketo team, of course, that put into integrating Docker Slim or that kind of a concept into this to basically make the containers a lot smaller and more secure by default?
So there a lot of, or maybe not a lot, but some of our build packs already run on what's called the tiny stack, which is similar to what you're describing. It removes almost everything, well, most things, and just leaves around what is explicitly necessary to run your application. So Docker Slim specifically, I don't think we've thought about, but we do have, as I said, similar concepts that might fit those use cases, though they are limited in what language ecosystems they support. So right now, I think it's just Go and a couple others, maybe.
Okay, it's two parts. One is the slim, is the sort of idea of the minification, but the other one is actually it also kind of analyzes the applications that are built into the containers and creates seccomp and app armor security profiles. So that's kind of the feature I was really curious about.
Not sure about that second part, but it sounds like something that would be worthwhile. Definitely always trying to improve security of the build pack. So we are super down to talk about that stuff. If you want to hop in Slack or anything.
Cool. Any more inputs from folks? If not, I guess big thank you to all of the Paketo core team here. It would have been a very boring call if not for your attendance today. And thank you to all the other attendees as well for taking the time. Thanks, Lakshmi, for sharing your experience in general.
Good to know that, you know, the usual calls are very boring because of me. So thanks.
Oh, sorry, I'm back, able to use audio. Jericho, we're FedRAMP authorized and we use Ubuntu. So I'm curious if this is a FIPS 140 issue you're running into, or if it's something else related to not being able to seemingly use Ubuntu.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that there's just, we're just looking at the different options that we have because, you know, we deploy our infrastructure in a certain way and, you know, rather than changing how we deploy the infrastructure, we might have to change how we're considering using Buildpacks. So, you know, if we can't deploy using Amazon Linux, you know, EKS nodes, then that would change the way we use Buildpacks. So, I mean, I think that's kind of like the constraint that we have to deal with.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to bring everyone into this one-on-one conversation, but yeah, I just sent you my email, and
yeah, I'd be definitely curious.
Feel free to reach out because since I do work for federal government, it's actually in my interest to help other people get FedRAMPed, even though I'm not. Even though we're also our own CSP at cloud.fab. So thanks.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it. Definitely will reach out. Thank you.
Right.
This call just ramped up to another level.
Nice. I'm really glad I joined. Thanks for inviting everybody.
Please come to the next one.
Sounds good.
Thank you for letting us know about this. Super glad that we got to talk to some folks.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to the developers. So I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, Sophie just also posted a link to the Paketo working group meetings. So every week on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So, you know, folks can feel free to join that. I'll have a link to that in the call recording as well. So folks should be able to find it. But thanks again, everybody, for joining. And yeah, I think it's a great start to the new year. And hopefully we're able to, you know, sustain the energy and just build on top of it. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.